start by removing this cap here for the door handle. Use a little pick or a screwdriver, whatever you have, and just pry it out. Behind it, you'll find a Phillips head screw. Go ahead and remove that. Next, in this little door pocket, you're going to have to remove the bottom liner. That will expose another Phillips head screw, which you also have to remove. And with that removed, you can pull up. You can use a little pry tool to help you. There you go. Pull up and then back. Flip it over. Disconnect your electrical connectors. Press on the tab and remove the wiring. For this one, it's a little bit different. I'm going to use this pry tool to pry this connector apart. Sometimes it's hard to do it with just your fingers. Pull out this outer sleeve of the connector. That'll unlock it. Then you can remove the rest of the connector and set this aside. Underneath this door pocket, you'll find 8 large screw here. This is your main anchor screw for the door panel. You're going to have to remove that one. And then after that's out, there are 2 more screws on the bottom that you'll have to remove. These are small. All right. Over here, you'll see a cover. This actually is a cover for a screw that you have to gently pry this off. There you go. Remove this screw as well. This corner piece here has to come out. You can just pry it off. It just has some plastic tabs that it mounts to. And now you can either use a plastic trim tool or just your hand. Get behind the door panel and pop it out of its mounting locations. It just has some plastic tabs that it pushes in to the door with. Now you can lift it up. Make sure your wiring goes through and doesn't get caught. Once you lift it up, flip it over just a little bit. Once you flip it over, you'll see the 2 door handle cables. Those have to get popped out of the door handle. And then the end of the cable has this ball that fits into that plastic socket there. Do the same to the other one. One's for the lock and one's for the handle itself. Now you can remove your door panel. With everything apart, my next step is going to be removing the speaker, so unplug it first. The connector has a squeeze tab on the side. Take that out of there. Now with a 10mm, remove all 4 of the screws that hold it onto the door. Sometimes these are stuck, so gently pry it, and that should come right out. At this point, what you want to do is reconnect your window switch so you can roll the window down. When you connect it, make sure that this tab, the locking sleeve, is pulled all the way back. Connect it in. With your ignition on, roll down the window until you can see that bolt here, as well as this one right here. This is what you'll need to access to unlock the window from the regulator. And with your 10mm, remove those. So go ahead and take these out completely. Now you can lift your window up, and at this point you can easily either slide it out, or if you have some masking tape, you can tape it and hold it up here, but it's easier to just set it aside. Go ahead and remove the rest of this vapor barrier because you need access to these bolts here. Take those off. And this is the last one, so I'm going to hold the regulator. One last bolt over here. Before you remove it, go ahead and disconnect it from the electrical connector. Now you can fold it and slide it out this way. And here's your old window regulator. Take your new window regulator and slide it into place. And I'm going to take this track right here. It'll be easiest for me to hold this. Start in one bolt over here. Okay, this is going to hold this end in place. Bring it up and start this one. Okay, now you can bring up this side with the motor. Make sure your wiring goes through the hole before you bolt it up. Line up these bolt holes here. Now to line up these, you might have to push up on the arm, and whichever one you can find first, start in that bolt. Oh, all of a sudden all four lined up. Okay, start that one, start this one, and the other two. And last one over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and snug it up. Pull your wiring through and connect it. The new one has a little bit of extra wire, so I'm actually going to take a wire tie and tie it up to this harness, because if you leave it flopping around in the door, the window can actually come down and get bound up in the wire and rip it or cut it, or something bad could happen basically. So make sure you tie it up away from the window. You don't have to make it tight, just secure it on here. Cut off the excess. Now that the regulator's in, I'm going to reconnect my window switch so I can roll the window regulator down, so I can connect the window back to it. Roll the window regulator down. Right about there is good. And I like to unplug and turn the ignition off just in case the button gets hit. I don't want to pinch my fingers in there. Now you can take your window, and if you removed it, slide it in gently. If you taped it, then just untape it and guide it down. Just make sure it's still in its tracks. Slide it down, and it should meet up with the regulator perfectly. Adjust it slightly. There we go. Let it drop down in. Start in your two screws. And snug them up. Now let's give it a test and make sure that everything works as it should. Rolling up. Awesome, rolling down. Perfect. Let's reinstall the door panel. Now you can slide your vapor barrier back. Make sure that the cables go through this slot here so they can reach the door handle. And try to stick it back to where it was. It should stick. If not, you can use some tape just to hold it in place. Alright. Now, to reattach these cables, this white one goes up top where the lock is. You want this ball to drop down in its plastic socket, and then swivel the cable over and click it in right here where it's supposed to lock in. Take the other one. This green one is for the door handle. Secure that one in too, and lock that one in as well. Now you can take the door panel, make sure your wires go through so they don't get pinched back there. Slide it up and over the door, and there you go. You'll know when it's seated in because it'll feel like it's hanging on in place. Now you can line up all of your push clips, the plastic ones on the back, and snap them into place. Secure the door panel. Take your main anchor screw for the door and tighten that up. Make that snug. Put this one in as well and snug it up. Put the cap on if yours didn't completely break. Start in those screws on the bottom and tighten them up. Perfect. Put in the screw that goes into the door handle and snug that up. And don't forget about the little cap that hides it. Press it on. Perfect. Plug in your connectors. Make sure this window connector, the sleeve for it, the locking sleeve, is pulled all the way back. Otherwise you won't be able to fully connect it. Slide it in and lock it into place. Then you have this black one up front for the mirror switch. Plug that in. And to reattach this panel, slide it in front first because there's a hook right there. And then press it down. And then right in this door pocket right here you had a little screw. So tighten that one up. And put the pocket liner back in. Perfect. One last thing is to reinstall this cover. Just line it up with these studs and it should snap into place. There we go, press it on, you're all set.